Looking back, what first made you believe you could be a world champion?
What made me believe I could be a world champion was simply me understanding that anything that I wanted in my life, all it took was the right sacrifice, dedication, hard work, all the key to ingredients. To me, I understood through someone that taught me from their successes the key ingredients to anything that you want to do to be successful. So for me, choosing boxing, or rather boxing finding me and me wanting to be a champion eventually, I said, what does it take for me to be a champion? Because I realized that I'm good. I realized that, I got the talent, but being talented is not just going to make you a world champion. It's not going to allow you to have all of the dreams that you want. You can dream, but you just be a dreamer. What separates one from being a dreamer than one who's actually experiencing the dream? And that's the sacrifice. That's the hard work that you put in the work. I didn't have a teenage lifestyle. How old are you now?
16.
Oh, I remember when I was 16. When I was 16, I didn't have any life outside of boxing. Boxing was the only life that I had because I knew if I made the sacrifice of saying, let me put my future at the forefront and let me look at my teenage life as something, as a good sacrifice to take to avoid, to focus on this, that's what I did. And that's why I was able to be so successful, because the younger you are, when you cultivate any skill, any talent, or any goal, and you focus in on that, you are able to really embody the essence of what it takes to be that champion, whatever goal. Because when you become old, there's a such thing as you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And why is that? That is because when you get older, you become more in your ways. When you get older, you become more stagnant. You become more of who you think you are versus being where you want to be in your future version of yourself. So you got to understand that anybody can be anything that they want. But the difference between becoming that is the mindset.
And tell me about the discipline you had, because it sounds like you had a lot of it.
Well, the discipline that I had was solely based off of the area that I grew up in. Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York was a very tough neighborhood. I knew where I didn't want to spend the rest of my life. And so I used that as an example to do the opposite. So what does it take for me not to live this life that I know if I give up, I'm going to be here? If I know if I don't do the things that I need to do, it's going to be the street life or jail or death, God forbid, Because in tough neighborhoods, those are some of the things that are very typical and common. So I didn't want to end up in that statistic of way of life. And so for me, I took my own life into my hands to say, I have a goal and I'm going to do everything necessary within my will to accomplish that.
And what was the toughest fight of your career, if you had to say?
The toughest fight of my career, you mean inside the ring or outside?
Inside the ring.
Okay, inside the ring. So opponent. Opponent, I would probably say Gennady Golovkin and Canelo were my two hardest opponents, but they were two opponents that taught me more about myself than anybody can teach me about myself as a fighter, as a human being, as a warrior. Because when you're a man and you go mano a mano in the square ring where it's just you and your opponent, you want to be the person that is able to say, I conquered this, right? So we're conquerors. But those guys were just as much conquerors as I was. And so they taught me a lot about humility, taking a loss, looking at a loss as a lesson and being able to grow from that. Because even wins are lessons, but losses are even more valuable lessons.
And tell me about your battle with cancer. How you came back to the ring and won a world title.
Yeah.
They did call you the Golden Child.
Yeah.
That name changed to the Miracle Man after that.
Yeah. So the goal for me was to just get back to boxing, to have one fight. When the doctors told me that I was paralyzed after cancer because I had a tumor in my spine and it collapsed me, canceling my nerves and not letting me walk, they said, you're never gonna box again. right? So imagine, like, do you have a girlfriend, or do you have, like, okay, do you know you'll have a girlfriend in the future, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, right? And then, like, imagine you being with your girlfriend for 20 years, and then one day somebody says you're no longer able to see your girlfriend again. This is your heart, this is your soul, this is the connection that gives you life. And when the doctor stripped that from me by simply saying you're never going to be able to do it again, I think the key ingredient for me was to not accept that. Because the key ingredients to anything you want to do in life is the mindset. It's mind over matter. And so if I have the ability to say, I'm not going to believe what anybody else says about my future, I got my own plans for my future, and this is what my future and my plans are going to be. And so I took my own goals, I took my own life, I took my own future in my own hands. And I think most people should do that, right? Because what we do, we follow what is given to us. Since you were born, you were raised to listen to others to give you the way of life. But sometimes you are in control of what you see. You are in control of your future. You are in control of the whole destiny.
And tell me about your mindset.
The mindset was just simply me understanding that I have the key ingredients, right? The key ingredients is believing in yourself. As so cliche as it is, you have to truly, not just believe, but you have to know that you are where you see yourself. Yeah.
And tell me, what first brought you to boxing?
What first brought me to boxing was a bully that picked on me when I was 14 years old, and I stood up for myself. We got in trouble by the principal, and when I came back from being on suspension, I realized that this kid was going to the boxing gym. So I was like, okay, it makes sense now. He's trying to pick on everybody because he knows how to fight. And so I said, let me go down to the boxing gym and let me try to get my revenge, because I wasn't a fighter back then. I didn't know how to fight, right? But I had the
you
will.
learned in there.
Yeah, right. And I had the key ingredients to say, I want to be able to revenge my loss from somebody who's a bully, from somebody who picks on people because he knows he has an advantage over people. So I wanted to fight the good fight. I also wanted to be known, not just in my community, but to the kid and to everybody within that school, that you can't just do anything you want to do to me. I'm a man within my own right. Yeah.
And tell me about some of the big name fighters you faced in your career.
Wow, I fought some of the biggest names in my division of my generation. The Triple G's of the world, the Golovkins of the world. I fought Chavez Jr., Sergio Martinez, Peter Quinlan. The list goes on. I fought a plethora of worthy champions, and I've also beat champions as they were champions. And so if you know anything about boxing, you got to beat the man in order to be the man. So I'm very proud of those moments.
Now, if you could go back in time and change anything about your career, would you do it?
No.
Nothing at all?
No, nothing at all. One thing you got to realize about life is that you are your own individual self with your own individual journey. I don't view myself from someone else's successes. And so if I was able to do my best, and I realized that this was my best, and whatever that allowed me to receive, then that was for me. And so for me to say that I have a regret for anything puts me in a position of not being grateful for where I am now. Because every loss, every gain, every setback, me being in positions to do anything that I wanted to do, all of these things played a role for me being here, which hopefully is a future Hall of Famer, receiving awards and being
Tell me about the award.
Man, listen, this is the Ring 8 Award, and Ring 8 is a New York-based corporation that highlights athletes, our boxers, old school and prime, that has done their best in the ring and has made New York and the world of boxing a better scenario. Yeah.
Tell me about the event here today, though.
So the event here today was me being awarded with, I didn't even read the award, by the way, Heart of a Champion, Danny Jacobs, in recognition of your spirit, resilience, and inspiration. You are a champion in and out the ring. This is my first time reading this, and so I'm
Put
grateful
it up
for
to the
this.
camera.
I'm super grateful for this. This means a lot because I realized that not only the fighter in me, as far as being able to be a good boxer, but the spirit of the fighter within me, it reflects upon the world. So my journey in cancer, people can relate to. My journey in boxing, people can relate to. My journey and my upbringing and how hard life has been up until this point, people could relate to. And so I stand in my mind as a token of hope, a token of somebody that can say I can relate to him, I can look up to him, and I can follow similar paths that he had, which is the remedy, like we talked about, hard work, sacrifice, dedication, all the things, right? If you apply these key things in life, I would hope people could see themselves in me. Yeah.
And tell me about your foundation, Get in the Ring Foundation.
So the Get in the Ring Foundation is something that we have designed years ago to where, obviously as a cancer survivor, I know the fight in which how difficult it is. And many people throughout the world battle cancer, deal with it, kids, children, parents, grandparents, everybody in the world. And so for me to be a survivor of that, right? So there's a difference between surviving and then there's also a difference between striving. And so I was able to be a survivor and only two to end up striving afterwards. And the striving part is what people really get their inspiration from, because my circumstances doesn't justify me, right? My mindset does. Yeah.
And now tell me about the day where you won the IBF World Championship.
Oh man, that was
Against Sergey.
yeah, right. Yeah. So that was the second time I won a world champion, and shout out to Sergey. He's a good friend of mine. But at the second time that I became champion, to me, it was me solidifying who I am in this world, in this boxing world, in my community. Being able to proclaim my stake in the game to where people can say, I recognize him as one of the best of his generation.
And tell me, when you were fighting, what was your training routine like?
Jeez. Yeah, you really want to know, huh? Early mornings, late nights, hard days, consistent every day, repetitive, hard work and sacrifices that one could only imagine, right? And so I give credit to all the fighters, even the past fighters, because how I became champion is realizing what it took. And what it took was making sacrifices, but the sacrifices is not one that many can take. Could you be away from your family for months at a time? Is that normal to you?
Nah.
It would be a sacrifice, right? Yeah. So it's things like that that go in the plethora of options of like you have to make in order to be successful. So boxing is a very lonely sport because one, when you're in the ring and all your team and everybody is in there, and then right before the bell ring, everybody gets out and you're just like, oh shit, it's just me. You know, I'm about to go in there and do this by myself. So it's a very lonely sport, but it's also a sport that you can feel worthy within yourself about. And so for me, knowing that I became champion, which was a self-goal, but also I inspired others, which is a goal that to me I couldn't even fathom having, but it has an impact on the world, right? I want to be a reflection of who I am, where I've grown to be. And so I feel like my life is a representation of that.
And that's all the questions I had for you. Would you like to add anything else?
Hey, this kid has been trying to lock me down for like the last 2-3 months. He's been persistent. I can see he loves the sport of boxing. You have all of my support. Anytime you need me, I'm here for you, brother. But cheers to the boxing world. It has changed my life, and here being represented as one of the best boxers and also the heart of a champion, I'm one to say that I render that out to anybody who's trying to take up the sport or within the sport. And as this report, you're boxing and reporting, right? Oh, double whammy. So we both represent what true boxing is: love, communion, and the fight for life. And so I'm a supporter of this young man. And to all my supporters out in the world, I appreciate you, and I thank you, and I hope that you can be a part of this retirement journey that I'm on now. So thank you.
It was good to have you
Yes,
on.
Thank you, bro.